Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. Thank you back to my channel. This is commenting on recent events in Nepal. I believe that's how they pronounce it in Nepali. I know it would say Nepal in English. And so that's how it looks like Balendra Shah is about to become prime minister because he won a seat in parliament, ousting Sharma KP Oli, who used to be prime minister. So that's it. How the country has changed. It's not been there since 1999. So this Mr. Shah, he was a rapper until now, and then he's leading this Generation Z in there. So that Rashtriya Swanatra Party is a national independence party. I'm not sure was it even around when I was there. I had a view on it on Nepali politics at the time. The Nepali Congress was the big one, this more conservative one. Obviously, there were communists as well, and eventually the Maoists won, and the monarchies are being abolished. I know some people went there as tourists several years after the abolition of the monarchy or calling for its, they met Nepalis calling for its restoration. I don't know how that would go play on the Nepali street these days. I can't vouch for the typicality of that viewpoint. So there were three major parties in Nepal, and two of them subscribed to Marxist-Leninism. They paid it lip service, but they didn't really have public ownership of everything. And the coalitions always seem to be chopping and changing. So Generation Z, they are fed up with this situation. They want some sort of continuity. And there's obviously seen some economic progress, but they say, there's still too much nepotism. There's still too much money in the hands of the few. And it's one of the less developed countries in Asia. Obviously, it's sandwiched in between India and China. They're in the Himalayas. It's landlocked, and often Nepalis go to India for better economic opportunities. You'll find Nepalis working in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, indeed in the United Kingdom. The Gurkha Regiment is the only non-Commonwealth country that the UK directly recruits from, or specifically has that Gurkha Regiment. But they would like life to be better at home. I remember when I was there, a lot of children still didn't get to go to school at all, learning Nepali first of all, often learning Hindi, given a chance to work in India. I think they're semantically related, and some of them learning English and so on. But I'm told that spread a lot. There were villages without running water, without electricity. I think that's changed. But that's just because the world has modernized generally. It's not so much extreme poverty, but it's still lagging behind. And if you owned a car in Nepal in the 90s, you were rich. Not middle class, rich. Only a tiny minority could afford that. So anyway, this new guy, Balen, who's been a hip-hop guy, he's got a lot of the youngest voters to vote for him, and he's very well known on YouTube. So a lot of his fans were infuriated when that former Prime Minister Oli, he outlawed social media platforms. So Australia, beware. And there were major protests, a lot of people killed, and said the trouble was nepotism, or nepo babies, as in those who are related to powerful people getting the best of everything. We've got to have egalitarianism. And so there's a lot of people unemployed or underemployed. And Shah, if he comes in as prime minister, said he'll create over 1 million jobs. And this is a country of something like 35 million people. That would have a big effect. And people have been migrating. The economy hasn't been good for several years. There was COVID. There was a Ukraine war. Some people have been duped into joining the Russian army and just been used as cannon fodder and so on. Okay. So Nepal's per capita income is only $1,500 per annum. And they said they can raise it to $300,000 per annum within 5 years. I mean, I think that's a hopefully over-optimistic goal. And they can, it says, double the economy, make it $100 billion per annum. And they say they want to improve social security, provide free healthcare for everybody. I mean, I just don't see that happening. These are noble aims, but yeah, that's one that gets my goat when people in Ireland or the British Isles as a whole say we've got poverty here when we have almost none. Suella Braverman's not right on many things, but it's a lifestyle choice if you choose to be homeless and things like that. So when there are people there who don't have 3 meals a day, who've got no shoes, who are wearing rags, children never got to go to school. So it reminds me just how lucky we are. So this Balendra Shah, will he deliver? I remember the old royal family, and I knew Prince Nirajan, who was shot dead by his brother. I don't think this guy has been an Ash for a very long time. That what was I going to say about them? Yeah, their surname was Shah. Is this guy related to the old royal family in any sense? I don't know. But all across South Asia, that can be meaning like king. Ultimately, parent come from Caesar in Latin. So I remember the king was Shri Panch, was he right? Shri is in respected 5 times over. There was a prime minister 3 times, Ekdo Tin, Shri Tin, as in 3 times over respected, and a normal guy just called him Shri, as in like respected, like calling him Mister. And even restaurants saying Shri and whatever the name of it was, depends how honored it was. And or some gods were 108 Shri and stuff like that. Is it how many goats you had to sacrifice? And the person came along. Okay, some of them are vegetarians, and mostly Hindus, a few Buddhists. There's syncretism around there, and fascinatingly, some people say they're both Hindus and Buddhists, and nobody minds. They can have a melange of the two. So will this guy deliver on his campaign promises? Almost not, definitely not in full. He may be a bit like Donald Trump, just throwing these things out like confetti. And well, he's giving people hope, false hope, seems to me. But I was told not to take false hope once when I was 18, and I disregarded that. And I'm very glad that I did go against the advice. That's one of the tricky things sometimes in life, knowing what advice to go against and knowing what advice to follow. So here is Balendra. What do you think he'd be a good prime minister? I know a lot of Nepalis in the United Kingdom, they're really into TikTok. They love their social media. They love to hear me singing Resom firiri, Urara jonki darama vanjang Resom firiri, Egnale banduk, turnale banduk, Mirgalai katakeko, Resom firiri, Urara jonki darama vanjang Resom firiri. When I was 19, helping out at school in Nepal, I sang it to my pupils and do a certain song to it, something to do with silk, okay, and saying my heart is singing. There we go. All right, so Nepal, there it is. The only flag, it's got a unique shape to that flag, and they used to sing the national anthem each morning and line up at school. And didn't reflect sufficiently how I could have been born Nepali in a poor family, how different life would have been, and just how easy I had it compared to them. University, no trouble, money, just don't need to think about it. I'm very rich, I can afford everything I reasonably want, and stuff like that. How I had it made, and these people really don't. And so it's difficult not to think, well, yeah, when people were so capitalism was working out so badly for them, they wanted to try something drastically different. And with so much wealth was in so few hands, they say a more equitable redistribution is only achievable by completely overturning the status quo. But yeah, it doesn't look like the monarchy's coming back anytime soon. They have to try and play India off against China. India shut the border in the late 1980s, and that ended the absolute monarchy, because previously the elderly people thought that the king Virendra was like an emanation of Vishnu, the Hindu god of preservation. So the refulgence of the divine, and that ended no longer ruling by fiat. They had a parliamentary system, a constitutional monarchy, but it didn't last. Eventually, the Marxists won, or the Maoists won. Were not as horrific as most people thought. Anyway, thanks for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon. Don't know PayPal. GeorgeCallan7@gmail.com. Goodbye.